Hi guys, my name's Barry and welcome back to the channel. It's been just over 10 years now since The Conjuring hit the cinemas back in 2013, so I thought it would be right to do a 10th anniversary review for The Conjuring, but also I'm going to be doing the Conjuring universe movies in the build up to The Nun 2 that's coming out at the beginning of September, so look out for all the Conjuring universe movie reviews between now and then. And no, I will not be including The Curse of La Llorona, simply because it's not part of the Conjuring universe. I've never really saw it as part of the universe, and luckily the director of that movie, Michael Chavez, who also directed The Conjuring 3 and the upcoming Nun 2, also confirms that the La Llorona is not part of the universe. Yes, of course, you can maybe consider it as part of your own universe, but officially, and for whatever reason they say, is not part of the universe. Now, my introduction to the Conjuring movie back in 2013 was an interesting one because I really liked James Wan as a director, and I knew that he was doing another horror movie and it was going to be a haunted house film, and I thought that sounds interesting. But when I read about it before I saw the movie, it sounded very similar to the Smurl haunting that happened in the 80s and the 70s, and there was a TV show movie called The Haunted back in 1991 that I always wanted them to remake, and with the story of the Perrin family for James Wan's The Conjuring, it sounded very similar to it. But the good thing is I knew nothing about the Perrin family. I didn't know their story existed, so watching this for the first time was going to be very surprising because I didn't know what to expect. When it comes to haunted house movies, I like them. I think they're great if they're done well. But what I don't like about haunted house films is when it comes, there's a reason for them to be haunted. There's a curse behind it. There's voodoo behind it. When it starts to get into those realms where they need to break a curse, then I'm out. I don't like haunted house films like that. I just like good old-fashioned scares and a haunted house that there's ghosts there and they want to try and get rid of them, and that's it. As soon as this movie started, I knew it was going to be a great film. As soon as that title card comes down where it says The Conjuring, I was blown away. I love the set design in The Conjuring. Everything was so meticulous. You've got everything that's set from the 70s. It's set in 1971. But everything just felt like it was 1971, to the clothes, to the house, to everything that they had, the technology. It was so pinpoint accurate. It reminded me of James Cameron's Titanic. You felt like you were in 1912. So with James Wan's The Conjuring, you felt like you were in 1971. Something that I loved about The Conjuring was the family dynamic. You've got the Perrin family, you know, they love each other, and the way that they portray that in the movie with the actors was great, especially the Warrens. You've got Ed and Lorraine Warren in this film. This is the first time they've been in the film together in the Conjuring universe, and they instantly clicked to me. To me, Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga felt like they were actually involved in real life. That's how great their chemistry was. You can tell all the way through it, they just felt so loving towards each other. If we look at the score, it was a unique score because there were scenes where the score was used to scare the audience and it was frightening, it was terrifying. But you've also got the score where it was supposed to be heartfelt as well, when the family are talking to each other, when Ed and Lorraine are talking to each other. You got that sense of warmth and you felt at ease, but then it cuts back to that scary score as well. So the score was great. One of the best parts about The Conjuring was the jump scares. Now, I don't like jump scares movies that are just there to give you a scare and that's it, and you jump, but you're not scared, you're just getting a stupid jump scare and it's so cheap. But The Conjuring was the first movie in a long time that gave us these build-up scenes where you've got something that's happening in the background and it builds up to either a really good jump scare, it was a really good payoff, or it builds up to nothing, but you were still so panicked that you were going to get a scare and it didn't happen, and that in itself is scary. So whether you jumped or whether you didn't jump, there was still a payoff at the end, and I hadn't seen that before for a long time. There's just movies that are out there that go boo, 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 and you're like, okay, I got a fright, not because I'm scared, but you just gave me a fright. So they were meaningless, whereas The Conjuring done it perfectly. As you know, we're introduced to Annabelle in this film. This is a side story within The Conjuring. Obviously, this is just a one-off movie at this point, so we don't know there's going to be spin-offs or sequels, etc. But the story of Annabelle was interesting in its own. It was its own side story, and you were interested every time it cuts to and from the Perrin family to the Annabelle, back and forth. And they are connected in a way, but it's just good to see them bounce off each other. Obviously, Annabelle became a big character because it was a spin-off and an Annabelle series itself, which we will talk about. But it's just so interesting to see that you can make side stories work if they're interesting enough. If we look at the finale of The Conjuring, I didn't see that coming. Again, I didn't read the story. I don't know how true or how close to the original story this was, but we had an exorcism at the end of the movie. I had no idea we were going to get an exorcism, and I know that I talked about realistic parts of haunted house movies. I think with the exorcism in this, obviously it's not real, but it still felt real. They've done it in a realistic way, and I don't think I've seen an exorcism in a movie like this done so well since The Exorcist back in the early 70s. So that's how well they've done this. And it's almost like they just plopped it in there at the end, and I was just like shocked. I'm like, whoa, there's an exorcism happening here. And the way they done it was just amazing. Continuing on with that family dynamic and the good chemistry, you get really heartfelt moments, especially during the exorcism, because you've got a mother trying to kill her daughter. Obviously, it's not the mother that's doing it, it's the demon inside. And when she's fighting it, you can see it in her eyes. She's fighting it. She's trying to stop doing what she's doing. She's trying to stop killing her daughter. And you see her crying, just fighting it. And then when she eventually does beat this demon, and you just see the light coming back again, everything's so warm again. It was a powerful scene. There's a lot of powerful scenes in this film, but that was one of the most powerful scenes throughout the entire movie. I will probably do a video with regards to memorable moments in the Conjuring universe, but there's so many memorable moments in the Conjuring, and they're all down to that great camera work, the intense score, the jump scares that are really good build-ups, and you get good payoffs and stuff like that as well. So there's some really great moments in this franchise that you just can't pinpoint straight away. You need to really look at them and decide for yourself, this one, this one, this one. But there's so many great moments in this movie, I couldn't even choose off the top of my head. At the end of the day, of course, the whole thing is nonsense. I know that some people do believe in the afterlife and ghosts and stuff like that. It's obviously nonsense though, but James Wan himself kept it realistic. He kept you believing as an audience member that these things were happening to this family, and because it made you believe it, you're watching an unrealistic movie in a realistic sense. He done an amazing job, guys. I didn't think I would see a haunted house movie done so well as the way that James Wan did it. It was absolutely amazing. One of these movies that over 10 years is aged perfectly. I watched it again for this review, and I was still scared even though I knew what was going to happen. The build-ups just make it so worth it. So what are your thoughts on The Conjuring, guys? I know that some people do say that it's a very overrated movie. I can see where they're coming from when they say that, if you're not a fan of haunted house movies. And I'm not the biggest fan of haunted house movies, like I said, but I don't see how this could be an overrated movie whatsoever, guys. I think it's probably underrated, to be honest. It's one of the best horror movies of this generation. Anyway, guys, thanks a lot for watching again. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
I'll be right back.
What are you waiting for, huh?
Coming to get you, Barbara.
Ever played in the cat?
Someone's in the back seat!